My husband, 31-year-old male, and I, 27-year-old female, have always been the perfect couple. We have had every difficult conversation in the book while we were dating. I'm talking two completely open books with no topic off limits. I stood up against my family to be with him. Now all my friends and family love him. We met in August 2021, dated, got engaged in autumn 2022, and got married in spring of 2023. He had a girl best friend, 31-year-old female, that he was really close with for the past 10 years. I always asked why they never dated, and he always said they were not compatible in that way. I asked if they were friends with benefits ever, and he also denied. She depended on him emotionally and financially. She would always pay back. Their friendship was always weird, too close. I always told him that, but he would just say, that's how she is. Eventually, she and I became good friends. We would have lunches, coffees, visit each other, and even go wedding dress shopping. I picked my wedding dress when I was with her. She and I got very close, and she's the kind of friend that texts every day and wants to meet up as much as possible. I am not like that. My husband was and would meet up with her and go out alone, even when him and I were dating and engaged. They would go to movies, lunches, coffees, etc. He would always invite me, but it was hard for me to keep up as I lived in another state. I would often express how uncomfortable I was with those, but he was always very reassuring. I trusted him and eventually trusted her too. Fast forward to my husband and I returning from our honeymoon. She came over a few times for a movie, to help around, etc. It was okay. One day, 20 days after our wedding, we were organizing our things moving in, and I found an old envelope with a kiss on the outside. I was bothered and figured it was from an ex, but no, it was from his same girl best friend. I read the birthday card, and it was a lot of stuff, but the stuff that stuck with me were, you gave me a shoulder to cry on and a hand to hold. You showed me what true love is. Needless to say, I went crazy and insisted they had a past together. My husband denied this entirely and said if she had feelings for him, that's not his issue. But he never had feelings for her, and he put boundaries, etc. I called Bull and said no way this letter didn't come out of the blue. There must have been something. The solution was for him not to contact her without me knowing, and to not hang out as often. We agreed and all was good. The next day we were looking at wedding pics on his phone. I swiped between apps and saw him text her, hey, on Instagram temporary message mode, and I lost it yet again. He told me he was going to tell her that a mutual friend had a baby, and they were going to get a group gift. I did not buy it. I told him we will not speak to her again. He agreed and ignored her calls. She did not text. I remained a mess with trust issues for over a month until I decided to confront her, alone, about the letter face to face. We met for coffee and she denied there was anything between them, just that he was always there for her when no one else was, and he was her best friend, etc. I told her your best friend cannot be a married man. Don't contact him without my knowledge. She agreed and did not contact him at all. She texted me asking to go out, but we declined all her requests. At one point, she wanted to meet with us to understand what was going on. She wanted to be as close to us as we were before the card incident, but we couldn't. She did not accept this boundary, so she walked away sobbing. We never saw her after that, which is a relief, but a part of me deep down always felt like my husband was hiding something, and I never believed that the reason he texted her next day was about their other friend having a baby. I told my husband this multiple times over the past year. He was always very supportive, encouraging, open to listen, loving, and caring. We never spoke to her or of her again since summer 2023. Fast forward to 2 days ago, February 18th, 2024, I was on his laptop looking at our wedding photos. There was a folder named Snapchat 0721. I was like, cool, let's see who he was talking to 2 weeks before he met me. And lo and behold, inside the folder was another folder named Private, filled with hundreds of photos and videos of him and his best friend dancing, cuddling, kissing in bed, her sneaking into his parents' house and laying with each other. He wasn't at home, so when he came back, I asked him again if there was anything between him and her, if she ever entered his house. He denied it. I showed him the photos and videos. After I confronted him and kept provoking him to tell me the truth, he admitted they did kiss on the lips once. I said no, there was more. He finally admitted that they did have an intimacy and emotional relationship that lasted 2 years. And the intimacy stuff ended 2.5 years before him and I met. But they remained good friends and went out together alone many times. In fact, she was the first friend he introduced me to. The photos were older than July 2021, but all had that date since he backed them up that day. We have had a million mental breakdowns in the past 2 days. We skipped work yesterday. He kept reassuring and swearing by the Bible that nothing intimacy happened after they stopped years ago. He wanted to tell me the truth about his past with her so many times, but he was always afraid of losing me. And he told me that when I cut her off last year, he was never more relieved. He had been trying to get rid of her clingy, manipulative butt for years, but never had the balls. I don't entirely believe that because I know she meant a lot to him, and that he loved her a lot, and would always refer to her and best friend or bestie. But since I cut her off from us, he has not been happier because I did what he didn't have the balls to do. He insists he had no emotional connection to her. Divorce is not an option. I really want to make this work and build trust and just feel normal. She is blocked on all our socials, all her photos are deleted, and she has been out of our lives for the past 9 months. How do I trust him again? How do I let go of their intimate photos and videos? I feel like they are burning in my brain. How can I focus on our relationship without thinking of her? How can I kiss him knowing that she kissed him before me? How can I see him naked, knowing she was all over his body for years, and he was all over hers? How can anything physical feel special from him when I saw videos of him doing all the same things to her? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Your husband lied to you repeatedly. You gave him every opportunity to tell the truth, and instead, he chose to directly lie to your face multiple times. Not lying by omission, not white lies, but the worst kind of lies. Why would you trust him? Why would you want to, and how can you? He's a deceitful liar with no moral fiber and low character. You choose to stay with the liar, then don't come crying back when you find out he's still talking to her behind your back, because he is. I wonder what else he's lied about and continues to lie about to you. Comment 2. He wasn't honest until he was forced to be. He wasn't honest until you found evidence and forced him to tell you the truth. How can you believe his "I didn't have the courage to cut her off"? Because I don't believe it. He's a liar. Your relationship has always had this other relationship woven into it until you forced his hand. I don't know how you can even think about trusting him. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around for this update. So, 2 weeks ago, my world got flipped upside down again. I thought I had seen the last of her shadow over our marriage, but I was wrong. It started with a phone call from a number I didn't recognize. I answered, and on the other end was the voice of my husband's ex-best friend. My heart sank. She was crying, saying she was sorry, that she had something important to tell me, something about my husband that I needed to know. I hung up immediately, my mind racing. I confronted my husband when he got home. He looked like he'd seen a ghost when I mentioned her call. He tried to brush it off, saying she was probably just trying to stir up trouble, but I could tell there was more. After pressing him, he admitted that they had met up a month ago. He said it was a chance encounter at a coffee shop, that they talked and she apologized for everything. He didn't tell me because he didn't want to upset me. I felt like a fool, walked over again. The next day, I got a text from her. She had sent me a picture. It was a sonogram. My heart stopped. She claimed it was my husband's child. I felt like I was going to throw up. My husband denied it, of course. He said she was lying, that it was impossible. But the seed of doubt was planted. I demanded a paternity test. While we waited for the results, our home turned into a silent war zone. I couldn't look at him without thinking about the possibility of him having a child with her. The tension was unbearable. Then the results came in negative. He wasn't the father. Relief washed over me, but the damage was done. Trust once broken isn't easily mended. Just when I thought we could start to rebuild, another news dropped. My husband lost his job. The company had been doing poorly, and with the recent economic downturn, they had to let people go. He was one of them. We depended on his income. The financial strain hit us hard. I started working extra hours to make ends meet, but it felt like we were sinking. Amidst all this, his ex-best friend reached out again. She was moving away, she said, wanted to make peace before she left. I didn't want anything to do with her, but my husband thought it might be a good idea to have closure. Against my better judgment, we met with her. She apologized, said she had been in a bad place, made up the pregnancy to get attention. She was seeking therapy, trying to get better. We wished her well, and that was that. But the meeting stirred up old feelings in my husband. He became distant, lost in thought. I could tell he was struggling with the past, with the memories of her. It was like I was competing with a ghost. I felt so alone, like I was fighting for a marriage that only I wanted to save. Then, out of the blue, my husband did something unexpected. He sold his car, the one he loved, the one he'd had since before we met. He used the money to pay off some of our debts. It was a sacrifice, a gesture that he was committed to us, to our future. It was the first time in a long time that I felt like we were on the same team. We're still picking up the pieces, still trying to find our way back to each other. It's not easy. Every day is a struggle to trust, to love, to hope. But we're trying. That's all we can do. Thanks for reading. My boyfriend dodges marriage talk for years and moves across the country without me. So I build a new life and show him what he lost. My 27-year-old female boyfriend, 28-year-old male, have been dating for almost 4 years. Out of them, we've been living together for 2 and even adopted a cat together. I have been trying to have a serious conversation about the next step and my wanting to get married. My reasons are that I really am ready to become a family and want to be assured that he sees me in his future. I'm more of an emotional person, and I feel that he is my person, and I'm really sure that he is my family, although I don't plan to get pregnant in the next 2 years at least. My boyfriend is a very logical person. We joke that he is actually a robot and not a person. That is why he doesn't see a reason to get married anytime soon, because we don't plan to have kids in the next few years. I tried to explain to him that for me, it's more an emotional thing, but sadly our thinking is a bit different. That is why every time I try to talk about marriage, he just jokes around and avoids the topic, which leaves me quite frustrated most of the time. So now I'm struggling between letting it go and hoping he will eventually feel ready to propose to me, even if it will take a few more years, and try to keep talking about it, although he keeps avoiding it. I'm starting to feel uncomfortable trying to talk about it, but it really bothers me because I'm so ready for this step. So people of Reddit, do you have any advice for me about how to handle this? Have you been in a similar situation? Thanks in advance. Update. Thanks so much for all your comments. It seems to range between letting go and not bothering him to have a serious conversation once and for all. I did bring up the topic again to him and expressed that I only bring it up because I truly love him and feel that I am ready for the next step, and said sorry if that makes him uncomfortable. He assured me that talking about it doesn't bother him, but he doesn't know if he wants to marry soon and can't give me an answer as to when he will be ready. But I will clarify that he did tell me he wants to have a family and marry me someday. We even joked about where we will get married. We have the same first name, and there is a place with the same name, and that we will have rock and metal music at our reception. So it seems he is open to the concept of marriage, but is unsure when he will want to propose, if it's this year, next year, or the next or the next. After that conversation and reading all the comments, I feel like I can at least for now, just wait patiently. Because when I look at our relationship, I want a partner like that. He celebrates even the smallest of achievements I have, and always tries to push me to become better. He is my biggest cheerleader and comfort. So after all that and the reassurance that he does see a future, even if it's unclear when, I think he is definitely worth the wait. Hopefully I could sooner rather than later update with good news. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, he doesn't want to marry you. I'm logical, right? And you're emotional, weak, silly is always bad. Let me guess. He also values total and complete honesty, which excuses cruelty. There are logical reasons for couples to marry, even if they never plan to have kids. That he says there's no reason isn't logical. But whatever's going on, he doesn't want to marry you. I'm so sorry. You are at a fantastic age to find someone who values open communication and sharing ideas. Comment 2. Sit down with him one more time. Say to him that you want to talk to him about something serious at a certain time. Sit down and talk to him seriously. If he plays it off, then you've got your answer. He isn't as logical as you think, and he's just a child. He should be able to have a grown-up conversation with you and give simple answers rather than avoid it. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around to hear more about my life. So, after our last talk, things took a turn. My boyfriend got a job offer. Not just any job, but a dream position that would take him across the country. It was the kind of opportunity that you don't turn down. The catch? He'd have to leave in a month. We were both stunned. I mean, we had a life here, our cat, our apartment, our friends. But I saw the spark in his eyes, and I couldn't be the one to snuff it out. I encouraged him to take it. I thought, maybe this is it. The push we needed. Maybe he'd pop the question before he left, cementing our commitment. But days turned into weeks, and the only thing he packed were his bags. No ring, no promise, just a, we'll figure it out. The day he left, I felt a piece of me go with him. Now, I'm not one to sit around and mope. I threw myself into work, into hobbies, into anything that would fill the void. But life has a funny way of throwing curveballs. A month after he left, I lost my job. The company downsized, and just like that, I was out. No boyfriend, no job, and the walls of our once shared apartment felt like they were closing in on me. I was at rock bottom when I got a call from a friend. She'd heard through the grapevine that my ex, let's call him Mr. Logical, had been seen cozying up with a coworker. My heart sank. I wanted to confront him, to scream, to cry, but what was the point? We weren't married, we had no strings attached technically, but it felt like betrayal. I decided to move out of our apartment. It was too full of memories, too full of him. I found a smaller place, just me and the cat. It was a fresh start, or so I told myself. But every night I'd scroll through his social media, torturing myself with pictures of his new life, his new friends, and her, always there, just out of focus. Then one day I stopped. I stopped looking him up. I stopped wondering, what if? And I started living for me. I found a new job, one that I actually liked better than the old one. I made new friends. I even started dating again. It wasn't serious, but it was fun. And it was something I hadn't felt in a long time. And then, as if the universe decided I hadn't had enough, Mr. Logical came back to town. He wanted to talk. He showed up at my new place, unannounced, with that same sheepish grin. He'd been let go from his dream job. The new girl didn't work out. And he was sorry. He missed me. He missed us, he said. But as I stood there, looking at him, I realized I didn't miss him. Not the way he was now. Not after everything. I told him that. I told him I'd moved on, that I was happy. And for the first time, I saw something in his eyes that looked like regret. He left, and that was the last I saw of him. Life's funny, isn't it? You think you want something so bad, and then when it's gone, you realize it wasn't what you needed at all. I'm doing okay now, better than okay, actually. I'm living for myself, and it turns out that's enough. Thanks for reading. My husband chooses a house near his parents over our dream home. So I buy the city, a house anyway, and show him who makes the real decisions. Husband and I have been planning to purchase our new home in the next few months. There are a few factors that we both have agreed on are must-haves when looking for our next home, such as the neighborhood and community, especially for raising kids since we're considering growing our family over the next few years. Amenities, accessibility to work and other facilities, etc. We both work in the main city core and have considered two possible cities close to the core. Let's call them City A and B. My preference is City A, which I have voiced to my husband. However, I have a feeling or the impression that my husband has a very strong preference for City B, which for some reason I don't understand why he won't say it to me point blank. We've considered other cities as well, and he said he's open to all options that fit our must-haves. But for some reason, I always find him to keep going back to looking houses in City B primarily. I tried bringing this up to him once at the beginning. It ended up in a huge fight between the both of us, with him denying and saying that what I'm thinking is not true, etc. As of now, when I show him houses in City A, there's always flaws that he'll find or mention in the listing as to why it's not suitable. My assumption is that he strongly prefers City B, because it's technically near-ish where he grew up. He probably has sentimental feelings or attachment to that area, and where his parents currently live. I am also thinking that because we've discussed that his parents, retired, have offered to look after our kids once we have them, after school hours, etc. He wants to be close to where his parents live, but I don't know why he won't tell me that or simply tell me why he strongly prefers City B. But to me, technically, it makes no difference, because distance-wise, both A and B end up being quite the same. Here are my thoughts on City A and City B. City A. My preference for City A is because it's a newer community, so for what you're paying, you're getting way bigger and more modern houses. City A is only 15, 20 minutes to several major cities that we cannot afford to buy in, that have many amenities, and only 10 minutes to main highway. City A and B are both 1 HR away to the main city core and our work. City A is more diverse and many young families are moving there. City A is a 40 minutes drive rush hour from my in-laws' place, and 25 minutes drive, non-rush hour, from in-laws, City B. City B is close to one major city only, where my husband grew up and where we also cannot afford. City B is smaller and doesn't have many amenities in the area, so you have to drive to that one major city for everything. 20 minutes drive without traffic. Add another 20 with traffic. City B houses are similar in price to City A, but way smaller and less newly developed houses, so you're basically buying older houses. City B is 30 minutes drive from my in-laws, rush hour, and 20 minutes drive, non-rush hour. City B does not have direct access to highway and is also less diverse. City B is not diverse in terms of demographics. Both City A and B are similar in terms of school ratings, not great, not bad. My thought process is that I want something that will be more beneficial to us in the long term. And I'm only thinking about us and our future kids when saying this. If I'm paying the same price for both, I'd rather have a bigger and a new house, and a simply bigger place for us and our kids when we have them. Yes, City A is 10-15 minutes. Drive more from my in-laws' place, but truth is our kids won't be babies and need to be looked after forever. If we're in City A, they'll have more access and options to the other major cities around it, and won't need to stick to only that one main city where my in-laws live. Both City A and B are quite far and 1 HR away from our work, but for that it is what it is. My in-laws are both fully retired with 2 cars and only 25 minutes away from City A, so it's not like we're going to be gone from their lives if we move there. Every time I show my husband houses from City A, his arguments are far from highway, when they're not, and which doesn't make sense because City B does not have direct access to highway at all. Yet he's okay with houses in City B. Not enough this or not enough that. But if you really sit down and compare the both, try mapping out the distances on Google Maps. They're both about the same and have no major difference travel or distance-wise from the main places that we need to be at in our everyday lives. And this is honestly quite stressful for me. And because we've talked about wanting a family, my mindset is that I only want to think about what's going to be best for the kids in the long term. This will probably be our forever home due to the insane housing prices, hence why I'm really iterating the importance of thinking of what will benefit our future family. Any thoughts on how this can be addressed or how to talk it out with my husband? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Are you sure this is about City A versus City B? Instead of just not being really ready to buy. It sounds like this might not be a good time to buy for many reasons. And this could be how his cold feet are being expressed. Reasons: high interest rates, looking at million-dollar homes that still require an hour plus commute to work, having communication issues, staring down the barrel of increased expenses, house payment plus more kids, with the risk of starting to hate the job due to the long commute leading to feeling trapped and resentful. Anyway, if I were him, I would not want to buy right now. I'd want to wait a little while for lower rates and more savings, making it possible to buy closer to work. If you have more kids, would one of you become a stay-at-home parent? Is an affordable nanny also an option? Expecting aging parents to commute to provide childcare doesn't seem reasonable, honestly. Comment 2. Unfortunately, you cannot communicate with him about something that he is unwilling to communicate about with you. And a married couple who are looking at buying in a home and building a family together must be able to communicate about everything related to those goals. Since you have tried to communicate with him about it and it led to a fight, and because you cannot make him communicate about it, the choices available to you are, in essence, 1. Just accept that he is apparently unwilling to live anywhere but City B, and only bother looking at homes there, or 2. Continue trying to find homes in City A and being rebuffed at every turn, or 3. Draw a line in the sand and inform him that you are unwilling to continue the search for a home until the two of you communicate openly about it. Which of those seems best to you, no one can decide for you. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around for this update. So, the house hunting saga continues, and let me tell you, it's been very eventful. I thought we were on the same page, but this week proved me wrong. After our last argument, my husband and I decided to lay low on the house discussions. But then, out of the blue, he comes home with the news he's found the perfect house. Guess where? In City B, of course. He's all excited, saying it's a steal and we need to act fast. I'm skeptical, but agree to check it out. We visit the house, and I've got to admit it's charming in an old-fashioned way. But it's small, and the rooms feel cramped. I can't shake off the feeling that we're making a mistake. My husband, on the other hand, is already picturing us living there. He's talking about how his parents could pop by any time to help with the kids. And I can see in his eyes that he's not just thinking about the house. He's clinging to his childhood memories. I try to reason with him, pointing out the lack of amenities and the distance from the highway. But he brushes off my concerns, saying we can renovate and that a little drive never hurt anyone. He's so persistent that I start to doubt myself. Maybe he's right. Maybe this is a good move for us. Then, my mother-in-law calls. She's heard about the house and is over the moon. She's talking about family dinners and babysitting our future kids. I feel cornered. It's like they've all made up their minds without considering what I want. I decide to take a walk to clear my head. I bump into an old friend from college who's now a real estate agent. She's surprised to see me in City B and asks what I'm up to. I spill the beans about the house and my reservations. She listens and then offers to show me a listing in City A that she thinks would be perfect for us. It's a new development, spacious and within our budget. I'm torn. This could be the solution to all our problems, but I know my husband is set on the City B house. I decide to take a risk. I tell my friend to put in an offer for the City A house without telling my husband. I figure once he sees it, he'll understand why it's the better choice. The next day, my friend calls. Our offer's been accepted. I'm ecstatic, but also terrified of how my husband will react. I decide to wait until the weekend to tell him, hoping that the right moment will present itself. Saturday rolls around, and I'm a bundle of nerves. We're having breakfast when I break the news. He's shocked, then angry. We have a huge fight, the kind where you say things you can't take back. He feels betrayed, and I feel like I'm fighting for our future. In the heat of the moment, he storms out, saying he needs to think. I'm left alone, wondering if I've just made the biggest mistake of my life. I wanted to secure a better future for us, but now I'm not sure if there will be an us after this. The aftermath is cold and silent. We're both too stubborn to apologize. I spend the next few days walking on eggshells, trying to gauge his mood. Then, just when I think things can't get any worse, my mother-in-law shows up unannounced. She's heard about the fight and the house in City A. She's furious, accusing me of being selfish and not thinking about the family. I'm at my wit's end. I've never felt so alone in this marriage. It's like they're all against me. I start to question my decision. Maybe I should have just gone along with the house in City B. But then I remember why I did it. For our future. For our kids. As I'm trying to hold back tears, my husband walks in. He's been talking to his parents, and they've convinced him to go ahead with the City B house. He's made an offer, and it's been accepted. He tells me we need to move forward, and I realize that my choice has backfired. I've pushed him away, and now he's made a decision without me. I feel like I'm in a bad dream watching everything I've worked for crumble. I wanted to fight for what I believed was right, but now I'm left wondering if my vision for our future was just a mirage. Thanks for reading this mess of a week. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.